Hello, my name is Dallas Behe, and this is my SEL lesson plan. So, my objective for student learning for this lesson is for students to understand how decisions have rewards and consequences. Students will practice decision making to determine whether their decision is reward worthy or if their decision requires a consequence. Why have I chosen these objectives? I have chosen understanding decisions because it is critical to understand how decisions can have an impact of creating a reward or consequence. For my student grouping, I will group my students in small groups for this instruction. I have chose this grouping because it allows for every student to have an input into the activity. It also allows for the students to have collaborative talks among their peers. And it also allows for a friendly competition to see which group makes the most decisions that have reward outcomes. My instructional strategies. My instructional strategies that I will be implementing during this lesson is collaboration and teamwork and project-based learning. I have chosen these instructional strategies for many reasons. I want students to talk amongst their group about why they chose the decision they did. That allows for collaboration and teamwork. Project-based learning will allow students to connect decision making to real world choices. This provides students with a deep understanding of how their decisions never go away. They will constantly be making decisions for the rest of their life. Um, and it's something that they have to do in the real world. So my instructional sequence model, I am presumably teaching third, fourth grade. I will pair students into groups of fours and explain to them that they will be doing an activity based on their decision making. My introduction. I will start by explaining what a reward and a consequence are. I will explain how every decision has an outcome, whether it be a good or negative outcome. I will then introduce the bowl of Skittles and explain to students how the Skittles represent rewards or possible consequences based on their decisions. Um, my model should take about 25 minutes. I will read aloud a scenario card. So, for example, I may say, you see your friend drop their lunchbox on the floor. I will then ask the students to discuss the different choices that they could make in that scenario. Would they make fun of them? Would they rush over there to go help them? I will then tell my students that their decisions are important. I will explain to students how decision making is critical in the real world. I will randomly choose one of the choices the students have made. I will then explain how each decision has a possible consequence. So for my guided practice, I will have a student randomly choose a consequence card to read aloud. This may mean lunch in detention, it may be lose 10 minutes of recess, just something small, but it's enough of a consequence to make them think about their decision. Um, we will discuss if the choice that they made has a reward or a consequence. How did the student who made the consequence choice feel? How did the one with the reward decision feel? We can discuss that this makes students more or less likely to make that same decision again. We can take a poll. We will connect the bowl of Skittles to the choices of the decisions being made. So I will pass out 3 Skittles to each student who made a decision that resulted in a reward. I will also collect or pick up 2 Skittles from each student who made a decision that resulted in a consequence. I will explain to students how the Skittles are a visual representation of reward or consequence decisions made. So in my small group or partner group, I will have them discuss amongst their group how every decision made has a reward or consequence. Discuss amongst the group how the decision they made can have a consequence or a reward. And then I will have students go back to their seats and draw a picture of a time that they made a decision that had a reward or a consequence. This allows for them to think about their decisions that they have recently made. For the independent works, I will explain to the students how it is important to know that every decision has a reward or a consequence. And I will have students draw a picture and write a sentence explaining about a time they made a decision that resulted in a reward or consequence. And this should take about 25 to 30 minutes. So for my closure, we will review the main points of the lesson and have discussions about how decisions have reward or consequences. And I will ask students to detail a time they made a decision that resulted in a consequence. I will make sure the students understand that understanding consequences can help them make better choices in their future. I would like for this to take about an hour sometime one day during the week. I have chosen this instructional sequence to devote time to model, discuss, guide, practice, and independently think about how decisions have rewards or consequences in school life and in real life. So the materials needed for students, they will need paper and art supplies such as crayons, markers, paint brushes, water, paper towels. The materials that I will be utilizing is I will use index cards with the rewards and with a stack of reward cards, a stack of consequences card, and then a stack of scenario cards. I will also have a big bowl of Skittles with a whiteboard and a marker. I have chosen the student materials to allow them to draw about a time they made a decision that resulted in a reward or consequence. And I have chosen the teacher material so students have a visual representation of how decisions have rewards or consequences. I can show that on the whiteboard with my marker, and then my index cards is what the scenarios that the students draw for them to reflect and discuss about how they would react to that scenario. So this is the anchor chart that I made. This is my SMART choices. It's what do I need to decide? So scenario. So if someone cut in line, or a friend wants me to do something that I'm just unsure about, what would you do? So I would then think about my choices. I would brainstorm at least 2 different choices. Think about all the possibilities. So, for example, if someone was to cut in line, my choices would be I could tell the teacher, or I could ignore them, ignore the fact that that student had cut in line. So, my consequences. So, for each choice, think about what might happen. So, for example, telling the teacher about someone cutting in line. The person may get in trouble, which is good, but they might be mad at me for telling, which isn't good. So, what's the smartest thing to do? Well, which choice is the safest and the kindest for myself? Which choice is best for me? And then I will reflect. How did it go? After I made my choice, how did it work out? What did I learn for next time? Bye.